Hello all my JavaScript friends, this is the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is Fun with JavaScript, our cache defense game. Alrighty, we've done the board controller, we've done the cache controller, we've done the game. It's now time for the road controller, which will be the controller that controls the creation and hopefully, no, not really the placement, but the creation of all the different roads that will be available to the game. So this is a relatively short one, but it's got a very interesting enumeration, that I've created. By the way, before we get started, you can catch all of our code at github.com/thevirtuoid/FWJS-cache-defense. All of the code is in the main branch of the repository. It's all MIT licensed. It's all free. Grab it as you want. As I record all this stuff after I've developed the unit test and all the code, you'll probably find that a lot of the code inside main is further advanced on from what you're listening to right now in the videos. So, use that to your advantage. You can also email me at thevirtuoid@gmail.com, and you can always find everything we've done at funwithjavascript.com. So let's get started. All right, so first thing on the road controller is we're going to need to be able to create the new test file. And the test file, like all the rest of them, are going to be named RoadController.cy.javascript. Alrighty, so we now got the road controller. And now let's pop the code in there for road controller to show you all the stuff we want to do for road controller. Okay, and there we have it. There's not a whole lot to the road controller, because the basic idea here is that I want to have a one spot in which I can request a particular type of road, and it gives me that road. So there's not really a whole heck of a lot here for that. So that's the idea, is that the road controller is going to be responsible for just giving me a particular road. But what that will mean is that we're going to need to be able to create a road class. Not just the road controller class, but a road class where we're going to get the information from. Just like on our board, if you listen to my board controller video, on the board, when we want to get a particular item, we needed to stop doing what we were doing on the board controller and say, okay, I need to create an item class. I need to create an item position class, because that's very important when we're working with the board. Well, with the road controllers, we're going to eventually need to have some sort of road class which will represent the actual physical piece of road itself. This is just a way to control access to all the different roads. So very simple. We're just going to be able to create, like we always have been, make sure that we're getting a road controller there. We're going to be able to create a new road. And when we create a new road, we're going to have a type argument and an ID argument. And so type is going to be required, ID is not going to. And so what I did here, since there's a number of tests associated with each one of them, I went ahead and put a describe within a describe, so that we can, further group pieces of information in within the CreateRoad. But the CreateRoad is going to return us a road object, and that road object is going to represent the physical piece of road. I'm going to need to eventually get a road from the road collection that road controller is going to keep track of. So the road controller is going to keep track of all the different roads that we have currently created. And I'm going to need a way to be able to initialize the road. There's a semicolon. The initialization of the road basically means, okay, if I've already got roads in there, I'm going to clear everything out. So that's good if you want to click on new game after you've played a game. You want to be able to clear everything out of the road controller and just start all over again. So that's what initialize does. So let's go ahead and let's throw the code in there for creation. And there we are. That's it. Nothing else there. We just need a road controller class. Let's go ahead and test it to make sure it works. So what we do is we go to our command prompt. And within our command prompt, we're going to we're typing npx, I did it again, npx Cypress open. And that's going to open up our Cypress testing. And that will eventually get us to a Cypress opening screen, which should look something like this. There we go. Welcome to Cypress. Yeah, we want to do E2E testing, so we're going to click on E2E testing. Initialize config. What browser? We want to start E2E testing in Chrome. So let's start E2E testing in Chrome, and that will get us to this screen. Ta-da! And that has all our tests in it. Our base game controller, our board controller, cache controller, game, item position, and road controller. We're going to be working off road controller, so let's click on road controller. It's going to try to load the test up, and of course it's going to fail. Why is it going to fail? Well, it's going to fail because we don't have anything defined with, we don't have a road controller class defined. So that's a good thing to go to. Let's now define a road controller class. So let's go to the directory. And within the directory, we're going to go to our class, our controllers, excuse me. And within our controllers, we're going to select new JavaScript file, and we're going to call it RoadController. Cool. Alrighty, so that should now be default. Oops, let's actually go to the top of the screen. There we go. That should be export default class RoadController. Constructor. And that should be it. Now that we've got that saved, let's go back to our test and let's refresh it. And it still says it's not defined because I always forget this. I keep forgetting that although I have now created the class, I've got to go back to the testing thing and actually import it in. Woohoo! There we go. Okay, it's now imported. Now let's save it. Now it should work. And there we are. Of course it's going to work. Okay, cool. All right, we've got our first road controller. Let's create a road. So the idea now when we create a road is going to create a road segment, which I'll set up a picture here at this point and say that, and show you that I've got 4 basic roads. And those 4 basic roads, any kind of combinations with them being rotated will pretty much give me anything I want in order to be able to construct all the different roads that I'm going to need to construct with. So let's go ahead and let's flip back over to our code and let's go ahead and type in our CreateRoad. And this CreateRoad is also going to include the type and the ID. So hang on 1 minute and let me throw that code in there. And through the magic of television, we now have CreateRoad, and there she is. Okay, very easy. What we're going to want to do on CreateRoad is it's going to take, let's see, let me bring it up. Yep, okay, make sure it's up. It's basically going to take 2 different arguments. Yeah, let me bring up one that's a full one here. Let me bring that up. Okay, cool, here it is. So right here is all the arguments we're going to allow for the CreateRoad. It's going to be basically have a road type, and it's going to have an ID. Now, we've got 2 things we're going to need to create here. The first thing we're going to need to create is actually a road instance. So we're going to need to kind of stop here and create our road or a road instance that will represent the physical road object itself. Now, not the road controller. You can almost think the road controller is actually a factory method to say, I need this particular type of road, I need that particular type of road. Here's a general road for you. So the road itself is going to be a particular road with one of the many directions. And one of those many types, will be defined in this particular variable called RoadType. So let's stop for a second. And what I want to do here is I'm going to want to create within my classes down at the bottom of the screen. Let me shrink that down so we can see it. Down the classes, I want to create a new JavaScript file called road. And this one's going to be an export default. Actually, let's flip over to the code. Export default class road extends base game item. Constructor super args. Okay. And we'll just keep it that simple for right now. So basically, earlier when we did the board, we created a base game item. And basically the idea with the base game item and the board is going to say, okay, I've been given an item by the game itself. I need to do something with this item based upon what kind it is. And we either have the cache, which is an item, the road, which is an item. We will eventually have a weapon, which is part of our arsenal, which is an item. And we have a monster, which is an item. Now, the board doesn't care what the item is. In fact, let me just bring that up here real quick. Let me go to the board controller JS. Are we there? Yeah, we're there. Okay, so the board itself really doesn't care what kind of item it is, and you can see that with the code right here. It just basically says that I just want to make sure it's a base game item. So all of my items, the road, the cache, the road, the cache, the monsters, and the weapons are all going to be based upon the base game. So now that we understand that, we've created our road. We're also going to need to be able to create the test to go with it. So let's go up here and let's create a new JavaScript file, and we'll call that one road.cy for the test. And I'm just going to go ahead, just for sake of time and everything, just go ahead and pop that code straight in there because there's not a whole lot here. Okay, so the idea here is, let me bring it up on the screen. The idea here is that we should be able to create an object. We should be able to throw an error if the type is invalid and should set any of the defaults. And all it's looking for here is the type. Why are we not looking for an ID or anything like that? Well, because the ID is taken care of by the extension, which is the base, the base game item. Let me go back to road here. The ID is taking care of that. All we're going to worry about is the type. So this is our type that we're passing to it. So we're also going to need this RoadType class. So what I'm going to do now is, let's go back to the directory. I'm going to create a RoadType class. Let me just make sure I got everything correctly here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, let me shrink that down so we can see what we're doing here, is within the classes, I'm going to actually create a new directory called types. And then within the types, I'm going to create a new JavaScript file called RoadType. And this RoadType JavaScript file, let me just throw that on here to show you how I'm using it. Let me go to the code. And so basically what I've done here is I've created some static objects here within the RoadType. So everything is static within RoadType. So there's no instantiation of the RoadType itself. You could instantiate it, but it's not going to do anything. And I've defined everything as symbols. So everything is completely unique from everything else. Anytime you create a new symbol within a JavaScript run, it's always going to be unique. And so I'm just using that as my point, or as the value for each of these type of roads. For instance, the corner top left is the road that is a corner, starts at the top and ends on the left. This one is a corner that starts at the bottom and ends on the left, starts at the top and ends on the right, starts at the bottom and ends on the right. Here are the two different straights, left and right, top and bottom. Here are the T's. These are T crosses, both basically two of them going up and down, and one goes right, one goes left. Other ones go left and right, one goes up and one goes down. And then half roads for half right, half bottom, half left, and half up. And finally a cross, which is basically an X there, intersection. And then I have, let me just bring that up with the code bottom here. Then I have all of these static types here, and this road types will allow me to do as I've put them in a set here, is allowing me to do a very quick and easy lookup to find out whether I've got a correct type or not. So by doing all of that within my road CS now, I can sit there and say, let's bring that up on the top of the screen. I can sit there and say now, hey, I'm gonna get your type up against what we already have. So if the type is invalid, then basically if the type is invalid, we'll throw a particular error. So now let's go to our road itself, which is completely blank, and let's just pop all of the code in there for the road. Enter the magic of television. There it is. So basically the idea here is that when we do it, we're going to get the type first from the arguments, and we're going to make sure we're going to throw an error if we don't have it, if the argument is not a correct type. Then we call super, because super will then throw any IDs or positions or anything like that automatically into the base item, and we will inherit obviously the base item in that case, and we will then save our particular type. And that's pretty much all there is to that in that case. So road is very, 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 very simple. And of course here's our particular error, and that's it. So that's, in this particular case, our road test should now pass. So let's go over to our code. Our Zoom screen. We're still on RoadController at this point. Let me get to the big screen here. We're still on RoadController, but now road is there. So let's click on road. And now road is completely okay. So we're in great shape there. So now we can start working on, now that road is okay, we can start working on RoadController. So let's go back to RoadController and see what we've got. Whoops, wrong one. So in RoadController, what we're missing is the CreateRoad. But one thing we forgot to do is forgot to import road. So let's import road. All right, that fixes that error message right there. we got to import RoadType too. So let's import RoadType. All right, we got that now. RoadType is in there. So now CreateRoad is all that's left. And CreateRoad takes a type and an ID. So, well, we saved that. Let's just check to make sure. Again, we made changes, so let's check to make sure we still get errors. Yet we're still getting errors, which is what we expected. So now let's fix those particular errors. Alrighty, so in our road controller, we need a CreateRoad function. So let's go ahead and throw that in there. Alrighty, so I realize also, again, I forgot to bring it up to the main screen, so I've now put it over to the main screen, so there's no big deal. So we've got our CreateRoad now inside our road controller, and basically we're taking the type and the ID args. No default on the type, and so I'm passing it to new road. At this point, it may throw an error at that point because type is incorrect. And otherwise, at that point, within a map that I've created roads, I want to keep track of all the different roads that I've created. So I have put that within the roads. And then, of course, I'm returning the road itself. So that should solve all of our problems within Road Controller. Let's go ahead and go to our debug screen. And yep, there we are. Our CreateRoad is correct. Our type argument is all correct. And our ID argument is all correct. I just realized I can collapse these things. Gosh, I'm so good. Anyway, all right, so we've got the CreateRoad done. Let's do the GetRoad. And the GetRoad is basically saying, I want to be able to get a particular road based upon the ID. So let's go over to our code and let's insert that within our within our test controller. Okay, and through the magic of television, there's our GetRoad right there. Very easy. We're basically, what we're doing here is we're testing to make sure that we will return null if there's no road to get. And we're going to be running the GetRoad method, and we're going to return the road if the road is found. And we're using, again, the GetRoad method. So this should fail because GetRoad has not been defined. Let's flip over to our main screen. And yep, GetRoad has not been defined, so it has failed. How do we fix that? Well, we fix that by going to our road controller and putting in the GetRoad method. So let's now go to the GetRoad method and insert that. Through the magic of television, there it is. Kind of, I'm sitting there thinking, well, you know, I could have probably just typed that out instead of copying and pasting it from the main repository code. But hey, there we go. So just getting the ID. I am doing it or null because a JavaScript map, if it can't find the item, returns undefined. I don't want it returning undefined. I want it returning null. So I'm doing an or null here so it makes sure it does save it as a null. So let's go back to our test screen. And it should be, yep, it's automatically grabbed it. And it says it's okay. There it is. Should return null if there's no road to get, and should return the road if found. So that works out great. Last thing we have to do is an initialization. And initialization will clear out all the different roads. So let's go over to our code and let's pop some code in there for the initialization procedure. And there we go. Real simple. All we're going to do here is we're going to initialize, and we're going to make sure that we're going to create, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to create a road that already has the road in there. And so when we initialize, we should not find that road again. So that's why we're doing that test here. This test will fail because initialize has not been created. And sure enough, yep, initialize has not been created, so it has failed. What a shocker. So now let's go into some code for Road Controller and let's type in the initialization procedure or initialization method. And through the magic of television, there we have it. Really difficult. You know, this road's clear. In this instance, as a map, I'm just clearing it out. The only thing I did do extra here is I did within the constructor also call initialize. You know, that's kind of just a little hook in the very beginning. So there may be some other initialization procedures that we have down the road. If that is the case, then having that all in one place will work out great. So the constructor just calls it and everybody's happy and everybody's happy. So let's go over to our test screen. And sure enough, there it is. Let's bring it up on the kids on screen. Yep, initialize, should initialize Road Controller. And that's it. However, one thing I want to always do here is I've now added a new test. So I've tested Road Controller. Let's click on Road, test to make sure that works. It does. How about item position? These are the ones I've done before already. How about game? Cache controller. Yep. Board controller. Base game item. Yep. Hey, you all work like a champ. That's wonderful. So that basically ends the road controller test. So we've done now the board, we've done the cache, and we've done the road. The next thing for our next videos we're going to do is the arsenal. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please click on the like button below. If you wish to keep informed about new content, click on the subscribe button. And as always, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you very much for watching. This is the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith. We'll see you later.